how mental health is stagnating or affecting the growth of Pacific Islanders. And I'll start with you and open it up with you, Savage. Go ahead.
I'm gonna just speak. I'm gonna take this time and then just really speak from experience. Growing up, there was no representation besides The Rock, Troy Polamalu, guys of this nature. Um, it wasn't authentic to see them fall, make a mistake, and bounce back from it. So as far as the guys growing up and watching in my lifetime, I'm watching nothing but negativity, pure negativity. No solution, no way out of it. And when you're just around nothing but negativity, all you just see is the flaws in everything and no solution. And as far as stagnation and how we can progress forward, it really takes you to hit the bottom of the bottom. Like for instance, so I work with the school district, and a lot of my methods and when I train kids or whether it's athletic training or in the PE classes, I take it personally upon myself to drain them physically. I will tire them out. I'll go through a breathing exercise. I'll sit them down. They'll breathe a little bit. And then when they're ready, I'll have them in a way kind of meditating to think about some things that they want to work on. And at some point, throughout the season, things can get emotional to where they start to realize things that they see as flaws within themselves, and they begin to correct. And then all of a sudden they become a new person. I don't take credit in that, but it's really about attacking one's personal, how would I say, inefficiencies. If I'm a Tongan man and all I see is other Tongan men around me talking about it, but not being about it, eventually I will fall in line and do the same thing. However, I could change whether it's the statistic or the order by saying, no, not today. I'm gonna do something different. I am gonna go do that thing they said not to do. I am gonna do the thing that I've always wanted to do, but nobody in my family ever did it. Whether it was go to college, open up a business for myself, buy that car with my own money, things like this. Sometimes it requires you to take a risk. High risk, high reward, and sometimes high risk, no reward. But you never know if you don't go. And as far as mental health goes, I believe right now at this point in our community, whether it's men or women, we need more representation. We need to see authenticity. I was once asked the question on TikTok, off subject, but it was about the Moana thing and the movie Moana, and they asked, oh, that's such great representation. And yeah, it's a cartoon, but I would rather see someone who looks like me, talks like me, and is me, and it feels like me. That the authenticity is there. That I know I can do it too. So as far as like seeing that pleases my mental, that satisfies my mental because it can be done, rather than hearing it be said all the time. But yeah, I honestly think that's one way we can attack it is representation.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Savage. Thank you so much. Yeah, representation and education, and because I know a lot of times there's a lack of awareness with mental health, understanding what that is. I do want to bring this topic and go with Cialci and Irene, because you guys grew up in a different generation, right? You guys may see
Are you
now.
calling us old?
No, no,
we're seasoned.
no, you just different, older.
I don't know about you, but I'm here.
We're alive.
No, but you guys grew up in a different generation because you guys the Pacific Islander love is like it's tough love, right? And what's their experience with mental health growing up, and then seeing this newer generation where they want to express themselves, they want to speak up, they want to articulate their feelings, their thoughts, they want to even if it disagrees with their elders, and that's the bridge, right? The bridge right now. What I hear from our generation is like, oh, the elders are not listening to me. They're not trying to understand me, where I'm coming from, and that's causing a lot of them to suffer mentally. So, but you guys came from a different generation, so you guys grew up a different way, and now you see a whole new generation. And I just want to ask your thoughts and your experience of what you see. And I'll start off with you, Irene.
For me, it was really a challenge because I kind of had to identify where my place was in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? There's certain protocols and things like that. So I really couldn't express myself growing up and my feelings towards how I felt about things. I think I grew up in an era where children were seen and not heard. Mm-hmm. You just do what you're told.
Yep.
But I I took the good things of our culture, and then I brought in the other good things to add to it when I raised my children, because I felt communication was really important and allowing my children's voices to be heard.
Mm.
And so communication, I've never, a lot of things were done in private. So when you had, your parents had a conflict, they did it behind doors. So I really didn't really know how to, have any conflict resolution skills in that sense. And when you see that dynamic happens between parents and, your parents in their relationship. So that was a challenge. But as I grew older, I found the value of having, even though the girls were very vocal and expressive, was also the emphasis of allowing my son to say that teach him that it's okay to cry, that it's okay to communicate how he's feeling, and what he's going through, and talk in terms of things that happens in his life. And I found more value in that with my son also, because I know it's harder for men to express and communicate. So from me in a generation, I took the good things from how I grew up and then improved on it when I had my family.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. All right, so you took the good and started something new. Chelsea, what's your thoughts and your experience?
Listen, culture is constantly changing, right? And then, well done. I mean, simply saying that you took the most valuable part of what you grew up with, and you're mixing it with this new thought, new things in life. It's exactly what it is. I have it that we have to acknowledge what took place in the past, and not walk away from it, acknowledge that it took place. And the only way that we can move forward is that every single person, right, create something that's different for themselves, so that they walk into a new being and not be stuck in the past, right? Because we can't do anything about the past. The past is the past. It is where it's at. What we can do is take the very few things, or all of the good things that has been awesome, and incorporate new things that would make us extraordinary. So I'm not going to dwell on what happened to me, 20 years ago, 30, 40. Did I say 40 years? Okay, 50 years ago. 50 years. I'm not going to bring that up and have it live in my future. My future is determined by how well I can mix my past and my future, and being in present this moment. What can I do now to better it? Right? And I want to hear Leah talk about that, knowing that you come from, you're a fob, right?
Yeah.
You're a fob. And now that you're here in the States, what is it that you do different now, so that the next generation gets something different other than your experience of life, whether it's good or bad?
Well, kind of relating to what Irene was saying, how she was saying she felt like she couldn't fully express her thoughts or her feelings growing up. It was kind of like that growing up back in the islands. You have to pretty much just listen to what your elders say. And but it did change eventually with my father. He's like my bestest friend. He developed as a person, and just started to sit my siblings and I down one by one, at least once a month, and just talk to us individually about what we're going through. And he's the biggest Faikava person ever. My mom has the biggest problem because my dad's always at Faikava. But the reason why I don't believe Faikava is the reason why men are stagnant is because even though he goes Faikava, he wakes up early in the morning on Saturdays, goes to Uta or to the bush, and then still has a job Monday through Friday, and then makes time for us children. So I think learning from that was, I'm still learning how to parent better. I'm not a perfect mom, and I'm not any better than my parents, but I've learned from my father to have an open relationship with my children, even though they're babies, but to let them, speak to you, let them express their feelings. And if they're crying, if they're angry, they're still learning how to navigate through their feelings. And it's just, just being that for them, and also not just for the children, but for like other adults around me, like other adults and their feelings. It's just to let them feel validated, but also not changing my own opinion and my truth. But
Leah, let me ask
yes,
you. Leah, let me ask you. What was like the hardest thing that you wanted? I guess that you wanted to express or bring up that you ever had to do in your life. That was like what was that? Like what was like the hardest thing you wanted to express but you feel like you couldn't?
You mean back in the islands growing up, or right now?
It doesn't matter. In any phase, in any part of your life, like what was something that you wanted to speak up on, but you felt like the elders didn't want to understand you, they didn't want to listen to you, but this is something you were adamant, like this is something you wanted, but you found it hard to bring it up. What was it?
Okay, well, I can't speak of anything recent right now, but
Okay.
I guess like growing up, I'm also a Mormon,
Okay.
LDS,
Okay.
and we always had missionaries come over. We fed them every time we could, and I guess it was like an expectation that everyone just expected. Well, you're going to be a missionary when you grow up, and I and I'm also adopted, but I never ever felt like I was ever different or treated differently. So growing up, like I did feel truly absolutely loved by my parents, but one concept I couldn't wrap my head around was how could I be in part of the eternal family that our church teaches if I'm adopted, right? So at the age of like 17, 18, my parents were, not just my parents, but like other leaders of the church were pretty much talking as if I'm about to go on a mission. And then I realized like I can't go be a missionary and preach something I don't fully understand. Like how does an adopted child become part of an eternal family? So it was hard for me to open up to my parents about that and let them know like, hey, I'm not going to go on a mission. And so when I was about 18, I told them I'm not going to go on a mission. So my dad, I also got in trouble. So my dad like blew me out of Tonga, sent me to Australia, and he said, if you're not going to go on a mission, might as well go learn how to grow up as an individual. And I felt like that was the hardest thing to do because as a parent, I wanted them to feel proud of me, but I didn't want to lie to them and tell them I was going to go do something I didn't feel 100% with, if that was your question.
Wanted you to grow up and he sent you to Australia?
Yeah. Well, I also did something I got in trouble for in Tonga. I had a boyfriend. I wasn't supposed to have a boyfriend, and he like booed me to Australia. He said you could either stay here, but if you stay here, you're gonna have to get married, or if you go to Australia, you could go to school and go to work. So which was it? And well, I chose to go to Australia, and I had wonderful cousins and family that kind of pushed me. I think Daniela probably goes fight up with one of them because he was talking about something one of my uncle does. Anyways, twist of the story was he sent me to Australia, and my family snuck a Book of Mormon with a bunch of testimonies in it. And I was kind of like going through trying to figure out like what my testimony was. I would attend a lot of different churches, and it was crazy. But at the end of the day, I realized like I was all alone in this country. Well, not completely alone. I had loving family, but my parents were letting me choose for myself, like what I was going to do. And I realized reading throughout the scriptures and the testimonies of my siblings was that it didn't matter whether or not I was adopted or not, but Heavenly Father is my father. And if he put me in this family, that was my family. And so, that just knowing that I'm a child of God, and it doesn't matter what anyone says or what anyone thinks of me. My parents are my parents. And so I decided to go serve a mission. And I actually flew back to surprise my family almost a year later and told them I was working on my mission papers. And but my dad was like, don't you have a boyfriend? Aren't you going to do anything with your life? And so I surprised him and told him I was working on mission papers. And that was just absolutely twist of events for him. But yeah, that was something that was hard for me to speak to my parents about, was that I couldn't believe in that. So they let me go and figure it out, and then I came back actually doing what they wanted. So
Yeah.
That's
Malo, Fafika, Malo. All right.
far from that.
Hey, Ipo, I see you, Ipo. Let me just finish this topic right here, and I'll let you win. Just thank you for waiting patiently, Ipo. I see you in the waiting room. Before I pass it to Tui real quick, I just have I'm very curious because we talk about mental health and speaking up. So I want to have a question to Sias and Irene, because I know you guys grew up at the time where like our elders was very strict, like whatever they said, we just follow. I want to ask Sias and Irene, was there ever something you wanted to do for your life that you didn't express it and then now you regret it today? Like something you wanted to do, something you wanted to say to your parents, something you wanted to bring up, but you felt like you couldn't. But looking back at it today, like you regret, man, I should have just did it. I should have just spoke up on it. And if I'm just curious because if you have any,
Yeah. I really don't.
Chelsea, go ahead.
Chelsea, you confess first.
Chelsea, go. You
All
go.
right.
Oh my
So
God.
when I first got here,
Walloy.
so I fell in love with ballerina dancing, and I always
Okay.
wanted to be a ballerina dancer, but I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't know how to ask. I had no idea.
Okay.
And so that was the one thing that I never got to ask my parents: how can I become a dancer like those guys? Right? Because I had it was some of the most beautiful things that I ever seen, and I never got to ask my parents. That's it. That's why I laugh. I'm like, you ask for it, I tell you. I want to be a ballerina dancer.
Did you practice behind closed doors and like do the twist and everything?
Let me tell you, I can do the twist.
Hey!
I can throw the legs out.
That's a 9.0 arabesque
Oh.
and pirouette.
Let me tell you, don't let me do the splits. now.
That's a 10. That's a 10. Thank you. 10 across the
That was-
board.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
Oh wow, man. That's thank you. Thank you for sharing it. Hey, and same thing, Irene. Same question.
Whew. What is your question again? Something that I regret. I wish I had asked my parents.
I wanted to speak on something you wanted to do, but they disagreed. And looking back at it, like you kind of regret, like, man, I should have just done it.
Like Sialsi, I was in dance. I ended up doing music instead. They wanted me to do music, to study music.
Yep.
I enjoy music, but it wasn't my thing. But I found my love more in behavioral sciences.
Okay.
It totally
Wow.
shifted. But I wanted to go to Utah University at that time. They had a great dance program. So they sent me to BYU Hawaii to do music.
All right.
course.
All right.
And I'm still doing music now. It's my therapy.
All right. Can we get a dance move like Chelsea? No? Yes?
No, I have some music. I produce music. I write lyrics and all that stuff. You can see that. I got to do
Yeah,
a TikTok trend.
But I think it goes back to like we didn't have a choice at that moment. Like growing up, there was no such thing as choice. You just did what you were told.
Yeah.
Like it was simple. Like you said earlier, we all had our part in life. I'm one of 11 kids. And my part was to wash the dishes, cook, and do laundry. Done. That's my part.
So
And
I want to.
did exactly that for like 15 years. We all had a part in our life. It was
Yep.
simple.
I want to expand on that question because the question I get from a lot of not only from my younger siblings, but I hear from a lot of our generation is like, how do we approach our parents to be able to go against their wishes, to go against their direction in a respectful way where, because, a lot of times when you speak to your parents like that and disagree with them, a lot of times parents will take that as disrespect. So like, how do we I'll open this up for everybody. Like because that's the question I hear from a lot of people. For me, like I tell my parents what I wanted to do. They didn't agree. I just dipped and did my own thing. I just walked. That's how I did it. For myself, it's like, I got to do what I do. I know my purpose, my life, what makes me happy, what I like to do. And for me, it's like, if nobody agrees, that's on them. I'm gonna do me. But that's what I did. But that's the question I hear from a lot of people. Like, how do we? Yeah, because like, what's the best way to approach our parents to disagree what they're telling me because I want to do this for me because this is what I want to do without disrespecting them. And I guess
It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. You did the right thing.
Yeah.
There's no good way to do it,
Yeah.
especially like with Polynesian parents.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to show
Especially
them,
first gen.
right? You kind of have to show them and prove to them that this is my goal, this is what I'm going to do, and this is where I'm going to go. And you kind of have to, show them that this is what you're passionate about. Some parents want us to fulfill their dreams, and that's the challenge, instead of fostering what our children's dreams are, instead of saying, hey, if this is what you want to do, make sure you do the best of it, right? And that's what I've encouraged my children. It doesn't matter what it is if you love something, just make sure you do the best of what you love, So I think you kind of have, I don't know if you have to show them, because that's a whole generation, because they're looking for it to see if you can make a living from the field that you're going into. Kind of like, the Chinese and the Indians, or you have to be a lawyer, a doctor, like that.
Mhm.
It all comes back to, is this going to bring shame on my family? Or, what are we looking for? Are we looking at what our reputation will be as parents, or are we fostering our children's growth and development?
Okay. All right. And thank you for sharing, guys. And last but not least, Ipo, I'm gonna just thank you for waiting patiently. I'm gonna just go to Sina, and I'll come back to you, Ipo, and invite you into the group chat. Sina, you're the last person. Yeah, what's your thoughts about mental health, and your experience with growth and stagnation within the poly community? Tui.
You're talking to me?
Yeah, Tui, yeah, you.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. What did you say?
Yeah, you're the last one. Yeah, what's your thoughts about mental health? Mental health in the community, how it's like stagnating some people and their growth. Yeah.
So our people, we clown a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we like to roast. We're very happy, funny people. And in that same respect, it's frowned upon to find help for any kind of issue. Like it's frowned upon to go to therapy. In my case, it was court ordered at one point, but that's a story for another time. But that court ordered therapy when I was younger did help, but like it's frowned upon for not just young people in general, but all Polynesians, but young people more so, because we make fun of each other for it and we take it to heart, but we pretend like it doesn't bother us.
Mm-hmm.
So my main issue with most people, our age and Savage, people our age, we support each other, but not really. We support each other face value, but in the end, we're all people, our generation. Shoot, I have what I was gonna say and then I just lost it. But our generation makes it really hard for each other to grow because of the lack of support that we have. We don't, and I'm not saying that it's everyone, but it's largely in part because our generation is lazy and we are caught between our culture and Western society. And it's almost impossible for first generation Polynesian parents to be equipped with the tools to raise their children in this society. So like then we get lost and caught. I'm not making excuses for anyone, but I'm giving an example.
Okay, no worries. All right, thank you so much, Tui. Okay, Savage, go ahead real quick before we go to go ahead.
I just wanted to add on to what Tui was saying. I mean, I totally agree as far as the roasting thing, right? You hear enough, oh man, you bush head, you ugly face, you big butt, whatever the hell it is. You get so much into hearing it, it normalizes, you desensitize, and all of a sudden, this is how your group or the culture you come from views you. All of a sudden you get outside of your group and say, for instance, a black girl looks at me and sees me cute for the flaws that I get made fun of. And all of a sudden I start gravitating towards that because all of a sudden it's now positive intake on me. You said, what? My hair looks nice. But my sister said my hair looks bushy. It looks nappy. It looks ugly. You like my hair? You want to braid my hair? Oh, wow. What else? Next, it starts to grab on your mind because all these things you've heard negative growing up in your life is like, well, I never thought of it that way. I never looked at it that way, but thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And all of a sudden you start to kind of grow out of your circle And I'm only highlighting this for the mental health issue, because if you don't tell your parents, the worst case scenario, I believe, and Jesus Christ, if I say this, I hope I don't go viral. You end up a porn star or a prostitute, selling drugs, doing something else that you're not supposed to be doing, all because your parents couldn't elaborate. And I don't blame the parents. I know it's a generational thing, but I believe it's just the effort. It's the effort. It's just saying, hey, I don't agree with it, but if I have to be there for you to support you, I will. I will do that. And yeah, I mean, Dewey hit it right on the nail. There are so many people I could have, growing up, there were so many people I could have just been like, support them, just little things here and there. And because I chose not to, it could have been a factor to where they're at today. So thank you, Dewey, for saying that.
Yeah, thank you, Savage, for saying that. Before I go to Ipo, I know that waiting right now for everybody out there that wants to do something for their life, but nobody's supporting them. Just understand that for me, it's like whenever you do something that's never been done before, you can't expect people that have never experienced it or never done it to support you. So if you want to break the generational cycle, if you want to do something that your family's never done before, it's like you can't talk big dreams to small-minded people. They don't understand, right? They will never understand because they've never seen it, they never experienced it, they've never done it. So even if your parents, right? So like if you want to do something you've never been done before, just understand 99% of the time, no one is going to support you, even the closest to you. And it's not their fault because it's just something that they don't believe in, they never tried, and they never experienced. And you can't expect people to believe in your shoes if they never walked that path. I just want to share that real quick. And also, I see the likes went up, yo. I see the likes. We got 11 likes, but we still have 20 people watching. So there's 9 of y'all that ain't liking this video. So stop being a ninja watcher and stop being gaga and like.
You gotta take down the hair. Take down the hair.
But if I get 20 likes, I'll take down the hair. I'll take down the hair. All right.